You have entered the PM. Hey,
what's up, my people?
What's up, y'all?
Hey, man. Welcome to the PM, where faith meets real life and marriage gets honest. It's good being back again.
It sure is. We had a good time the last time we came together.
It was really good. And
Yes.
We saw that from the feedback that we got from a lot of folks.
We did. I'm your host, Cachet.
And I'm Greg. It's really good to be here with you guys today, man. And we're excited about today's talk.
Yes.
And what we're going to dive into. So I'm ready to get into it.
You ready?
I am.
Yes. We are starting a brand new series called Before You Chase the Ring.
Let's go.
I think that this is an especially important conversation because I remember thinking I had the tools, but later finding out that they could have been better.
I think we all think we know what we're doing. Jumping into this.
I 100% agree. And so I think that we are, this is the perfect platform to talk about this.
Yeah, and we're excited about it. We're excited to be able to, one of our things is preparing people and equipping people to do this life right, to do relationship right. And so over this journey, over these next handful of sessions that you guys join us, we're going to be providing you nuggets, foundational pieces that can help you do relationship well before you even do it. And don't worry, if you did start, all this stuff is applicable. You can do it right now.
Yes, it is.
And still get the same benefits.
Absolutely. So this is a 5-part series. This is part 1. We want to go through it slow so you have time to take it in, digest it, think about it, marinate on it, and then apply it where it needs to be applied.
Yes. Numero uno.
I'm excited about it.
Yeah, man.
So we're trying this new thing. We have things written down. So if you see us looking down, that's why. Part 1 is wholeness is not found in a spouse. Marriage won't cure your brokenness.
That's real.
That is really good.
That's real.
I think that I know that many people get into relationship looking for the person that completes them.
Well, we talk about self-awareness all the time. And there may be somebody watching this right now or 5 years down the line that's evaluating themselves and saying, nah, I ain't looking for somebody to make me whole. But if you spend any amount of time in a relationship, I think you kind of realize the stuff that exposes that I'm looking for them to give me something to fix me.
I know that women in particular, we are all in the fairy tale, the romance, the rom-com. And so we really do think about you hear them lines on the movies like, you complete me. And we feel like when we get married, that is what marriage is supposed to do.
Yeah.
And I remember hearing different people later on in marriage, in our marriage, saying that was an incorrect way to think. And it brought me back to a time in my life. I remember if you've known me for any time, or you'll probably hear me say it a million times, I always wanted to be married. I always wanted to have kids. I don't think I expected to have as many kids. If you don't know, we have 5 children. We plan them all. Yeah. So let me not act like, oh gosh, we were surprised. We weren't. But I don't think I had a number in my mind of kids. I just knew I wanted to be a wife and I wanted to have a family. And so everything I did in my life was surrounded around that. And my friends, they would be, they want to be a this, they want to be the president, they want to be a chef, they want to be a professor. What do you want to do in life? And I really didn't have anything except that I wanted to be a wife and a mother. And it's interesting that that's what my heart wanted, because I didn't have a lot of wives around me. I did have many mothers around me, but not many wives. So it was very interesting that was a desire that I had. Everything I did. When I played house, I was about to get married, or I was already married. When I played Barbies, we went through a whole storyline every single time. So if I played Barbies 8 times that week, every time I met the guy, we started dating. He asked me to marry him. We have a huge wedding. He sings to me coming down the aisle, which is funny because I did not know that I was going to marry a singer. He sings to me going down the aisle. I get pregnant. We have a baby shower. We have children. It was always my narrative.
That's because all the young and the restless and bold and the beautiful you watched with your grandma.
Yeah, but there was so much scandal. Not my grandma, mother.
Yeah.
But there was so much scandal in there. Those weren't happy marriages. So there was no actual foundation of like what a good marriage was and what it should be. But that was always like my heart's desire. And I remember, number one, so Greg and I, when we got married, I was 23? You were 21.
Yep.
I was 23. And when we got married, first of all, it felt like it was so long and I was so old because I desired to be married for so long. So 23, when I say it now, it's like young, but it felt like I was waiting forever. And when we got married, I remember a time in my life where we got married. We had our son 2 years in. And I remember we were married. He, had a husband, happily married. We had the baby, and I still was like dealing with this emptiness. I didn't know like what it was, and it was like I remember it was about a year of feeling just something was missing, and it was, and I had everything that my heart had desired my whole life. There was nothing, and I remember there was a song that my pastor's sister used to sing that would pop back up when I'd be like, what the heck is this? And the song was Only Jesus Can Satisfy Your Soul. And it took me some time to recognize that though marriage is a tool and a thing in life that you are, that God gifts us with, and it's for, there's benefits to it and stuff. That is not the thing that makes you whole. Having a child is not the thing that makes you whole. And you hear your aunties and your mom and them say that to you, young girls say, like, a baby's not going to keep a man, baby's not going to make you feel, but something in your mind still feels like, an immature mind still feels like that it can and it will.
I think the starting point is recognizing that you're not whole.
Oof.
That's where I would start with this conversation, that relationship will hold the mirror up to you to show you all the spaces in your life where you didn't realize you weren't whole.
Yeah.
So there are some folks that will come into relationship looking for the person that we're talking about, looking for completion. You complete me.
Yeah,
I'm lonely and you've given me something to fill my void.
Yeah.
And then there are others who feel like I have my life together. I got with somebody that is compatible, is providing some things to take my life to the next level. But then you're weeding through challenges in life, and it's like, oh, I got a little insecurity there. I didn't know I had that.
Yeah.
Me being with you should eliminate that insecurity.
Yeah.
And it's like, no,
that's not what it does.
That's a heart work.
Yeah.
That's something inside of you,
individual work
that needs to be worked out and developed, especially if that person is not responsible for the feelings that are inside of you. Number one, we can be a catalyst or somebody that causes some of those problems, but there are other things inside of us. It's like, Why are you agitated?
Yeah.
We had some simple stuff, man. Like when we first got together, you used to get mad at me when I fell asleep.
Well, he's so traumatized.
I'm bringing something. We said that we're talking about practical stuff.
Yeah.
And so, we deal when you're getting early in relationship, there's simple things because it's two lives coming together.
Yeah.
That you're butting heads on simple things.
Yeah.
Like, why you not closing the refrigerator? Why you leaving a drink on the counter? You know what I mean?
It's simple funny stuff that stuff irritates you like that. Well, I remember people used to say that, and especially I thought they were crazy.
If you came into this thing and you had your own life, like you had some things established already before we got together.
I did.
And so we come together and get married.
He was a college student. Yeah. He was a recent college graduate when we got together.
Thank God I wasn't a dirtball.
No,
you know what I mean?
No,
coming
he was
in
not
and just wrecking everything that you already kind of set up in your life.
But I had a way that you don't know. It's two lives colliding to create a new one. And you don't know what that's going to be like. And so to come into it and expect that this person's going to fix the things that you may feel like having a companion does for you, what you think they're supposed to do for you, kind of creates number one, an unfair expectation on that person.
Mm-hmm.
And also it creates places for you to be disappointed, many places for you to be disappointed because this person is not here to make you whole.
Yeah.
So, any brokenness that I had, if I did not have a father, or if my dad was not this to me, or if my mom was not this to me, my husband is not. There are things I will say. Let me say this before I forget. There are things that will heal when you get married.
Mm-hmm.
It can, but you don't get married so that the person can. I don't think that people always know that they're doing that, but you don't get married thinking when I get married, all my problems are going to be solved.
No, bingo. Mm-hmm. That's it. And we want to make sure we touch that. Husbands and wives do play a part in the restoration process of each other's lives. Well,
a good, healthy.
They do. I say we play a part in it, not that we are the source of your repair. If I love you and we're doing life together, God can use me in ways that can play a part in helping you heal. Like he can use me to encourage you where you didn't get encouragement. That doesn't mean that I am the source to heal you.
Yeah.
But I can be used to help restore that.
Yeah.
Some people are like, you're not making me happy.
Yeah.
It's not my job to make you happy. There's something deeper inside of you that you're struggling with finding joy in life. What is that? Why do you feel unsatisfied?
You might need to go to therapy.
Yeah.
You might be dealing with some stuff.
Yeah.
The first time I heard that was Will and Jada. And it's funny because, they went from like this platform where their marriage looked like, oh, that's the marriage everybody wants to have, to like where we see the reality and the truth of what it actually is. But this is where I say, like, not to throw the meat away with the, don't, take the meat and throw away the bone, because it was the first time I ever heard a couple say, your spouse shouldn't, you don't marry them to make you happy. And I had to really think about, like, what did that mean exactly? And I got what they were saying. And they were talking about a time in her life where I guess Jada turned a certain age and she was crying for like 40 days straight. And he was doing all these things and it wasn't like helping her at all, because she was going through something that required something deeper than what he could give. And, it brings up a point that I'm thinking about right now. Just because, the person could be doing all these things, but they're doing them most of the time based on what they think will make you happy. That's why, like, if you are like, well, I'll get her flowers. Well, I'll give her shoes. Well, I'll do this. It's still, you don't even know what the thing is that they need. You get what I mean? Like, we're still like kind of guessing.
Yeah.
So if I feel like if you're sad about something in life and then I'm like, well, I know that Greg loves steak, so I start making steak every day, that's not solving the deeper problem of why you're sad. You know what I mean? And it's unfair to put that on a person. And so that is why that song, I get it now. it would get on my nerves at the time, because I was like, why every time that I even questioned in my mind, like, what is this emptiness I feel? I would hear her sing, "Only Jesus can satisfy your soul." And it would get on my nerves, but I believe now that was the Holy Spirit responding to my question.
Absolutely.
And it took time and leaning in to God more to recognize that with you there and my baby and everything else that we were creating, these are not the things that are supposed to be satisfying the deeper part of me. That's a place is reserved for God.
Yeah.
And even when, like I said, we talk about it all the time. I was a minister at the time. I, did all kind of stuff in church and ministry, and I still didn't know that. I still thought that being married, because look, church sometimes don't help when it comes to preparing people for marriage. Sometimes they don't, because there's this big hoopla about get married, blah, blah, blah. You brush past the singleness, like it's not important, and you are focused on, girl, you better prepare for when your husband comes. Man, you better prepare. Hold on. I almost messed that up. Did they ever say that to men? No.
Well, no, they said it to men. I didn't.
But did they ever say, like, prepare for a wife? Because they told us to prepare for a husband.
No, there wasn't a lot of preparation.
Conversation?
Not the type of preparation I understand now is necessary to give men tools for marriage.
Yes.
And that preparation in reality is really continue to develop yourself.
Yeah.
It isn't do the things that you would do, because you have no idea what those things are in the household. But it was more so of building your character, being sound. It was all the things necessary to help you be a whole person coming into relationship with another person that's whole.
I don't feel like I ever heard. I feel like I only heard for women to prepare for their husband. And we took that as make sure you can cook and clean.
Yeah, it's behavioral.
It was never
do all the things that you need to do.
Yeah.
That your husband's going to expect from you.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes, there was nothing that said any other thing. And so it was that stuff. Oh, and we were planning our weddings. So that was another thing that was happening, that's how we were interpreting it. I don't know if that is how they were meaning for it to be, but we were interpreting it as, well, I got to prepare because I never know when my husband's going to come. So let me start planning my wedding, which now I don't think I would advise that, because there's something special about doing it with a person in mind. And what if he wants to be involved in the wedding too? You done pick pink sequin jackets, and he hates pink. He would never wear it. You don't know that.
I've seen some guys that need to get out the way too.
But the point is, you don't know.
Duly noted, absolutely.
You don't know what.
Absolutely.
You don't know exactly how to prepare. Wait, how are you going to prepare for bridesmaids and groomsmen what if your husband has 5 sisters that you adore? You don't know that yet.
That just cut into your number.
Exactly.
Or add it to it.
Yeah. What if you were like, I'm getting married at the Bahamas, and he hates the Bahamas? Like, there's things that you don't know, and so that is not actually prepare for your husband.
Or has a large family and would like to get married stateside because he wants his family.
That's stuff that and that's just small. Those are things that come with the time. And something that I have said, and I stand by still to this day, is enjoy the season and the time that you're in.
Yeah.
And let that season be special. There are things that I did before we got married, because I took that same approach and thought I need to prepare for my husband. So let me do these things. There were certain things I wouldn't do that other people, I'm not going to buy a new house. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do that because my husband. And what if I didn't get married till I was 50? Anyway.
That's a
sidebar.
Different conversation.
But, in some ways, I do feel like it took away from when the time actually came.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
that I would have had you in mind when I bought certain things and did certain things that I didn't because I was already planning it. And so thank goodness you really were not involved in that way, because our wedding went like what I wanted. Yeah. Right. But like what I had already planned, like I had stuff that I planned without you in mind. And so you kind of fit into it and that worked. But what if it didn't?
Well, the ultimate question, we have this noted down that is the key for anybody watching this. Ask yourself this: if you're looking to pursue marriage, you want to get in a relationship, am I emotionally, spiritually, and mentally healthy enough to give love to someone? Not just receive it, but give it. A lot of stuff that we talked about is our expectations of this other person. Yep. When I get married, this person is going to be this to me, and I'm going to be that. But it really is centered around what you want to create, what you want to get in relationship. But if our focus is, man, I just want to be developed so I could be the best person I can to love them under some tough circumstances that I have no idea what we're going to face. I have to be grounded in the Word of God. I got to be grounded in my faith. Mm-hmm. I got to be mentally sound. What's my mental health like? Yeah. Am I carrying a lot of baggage and trauma from where I've come from? Do I not trust people? Because relationship is built on trust. So if I have trust issues, that's already a flag for myself of how well I'll be able to commit and really trust a person with my life, man. Yeah. I'm trusting them with my finances. I'm trusting them with decisions in terms of establishing our family. I'm trusting them with critiquing me as a person.
I don't think many people think that far.
No, but this is why we do this today. Yeah. Because these types of conversations aren't had and can better equip people if you can sit back and say, I wish somebody told me, man.
Yeah. That healthy marriages are built on two whole people.
Do you got trust issues?
So you need to be whole as you can be.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? And a lot of wholeness comes from being self-aware. Yeah. Which is my number one favorite. You're going to hear me say this a million times. It is my favorite coaching space to start at, because many people are not aware of themselves. Mm-hmm. And so they'll say, yes, when he comes, I'll be able to give him all the love, and I will not ever, and we will, and everything will be perfect and great. And like, you're not saying that, but you are saying that. Mm-hmm. Because I think there's a part that's good. You believe the best. And there's some things you are not going to face until you get married. So you're not going to know that is what it is. But there are some areas that we know and we just choose, or we don't know, or we choose to not address. Mm-hmm. And so we go into it broken, expecting that the person will make us feel better. Yeah. They'll make us happy with their sadness instead of us going to therapy. They will make us, be healed in this place instead of, again, going to therapy. Yeah. You know what I mean? Or facing some stuff in our family that we may have to do and not sweep under the rug anymore. There's a lot of narrative out there now for women that is like, oh gosh, it just left my mind how to put it together, what I was saying. There's a lot of narrative out there now. If he don't make six figures, if he don't do this and that and the other. And there's some of these women that are saying it are not even providing for themselves now. Mm-hmm. And so now you thinking marriage is going to make you rich, so to speak. I don't know if that's the right word. You know what I mean? Like, he's going to do all these things for me. Yeah. And you're not doing anything. Yeah. Yeah. I was reading something, and it's true. Proverbs 31 woman that all the women of God talk about they want to be. She was an entrepreneur. Mm-hmm. If you read it, she did all kind of stuff. I said, old girl had her own money for real. Mm-hmm. She had her own way that she handled things. And it's not like, this is my money and that's yours. But it's that she didn't go into marriage thinking, oh, now I'll be, he's going to set me up. No, the idea is that we both come together.
Well, didn't we talk about that in might have been our last season of the RTB podcast.
What? Which one?
The Hebrew term that a woman was
helper.
Ezer, E-Z-E-R.
Yeah.
I think that's probably the most apropos for what we're talking about right now. When we're talking about two whole people coming, the core of that is identity. And if you have no idea who you are and what you can bring to a relationship, not knowing it doesn't mean you know everything.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean you've activated all your giftings and you know exactly what you can be. That comes over time.
Yeah.
But the self-awareness part is understanding the principles that we are two people coming together.
Yeah.
That we are contributing to this unit.
Yeah.
And we both have a place.
Yeah.
The Hebrew term for Ezer, if you haven't heard us talk about this, was the word helper. But it's the same helper that is used all throughout Psalms and a handful of other places in the Bible where it talked about what God is to his bride, what God is and was to Israel. And that's a source. Yeah. A source that can't be provided by anything else. Yeah. So let's tie it together. God created Eve for Adam to be a source to him that he couldn't get and draw and extract out of himself.
That's good.
That's much bigger than somebody that's just a subordinate that sits and waits for your instructions. You know, our last episode, we had a brother comment, and I don't know what the intent was. I don't want to misconstrue what was said, but he made some statements about, his place. Pay attention, it's his place. And I commented on it and I said, when I think about Adam, Adam wasn't placed in the garden to have dominion and authority and reign by himself. King David didn't have a kingdom by himself. Yeah. When I think about all the things that God created us to do, there's someone there with us. So it's not this dictatorial thumb ruling over a woman. Yeah. It is a partnership.
And that was, let's slow down and talk about what that response he was saying that to was. Yeah. It was when we were talking about,
should have gave context.
It was when we were talking about the qualifications of an elder.
Yeah.
And how his home should be in order and da. And the guy started commenting, talking about his house, this, that, and the other, as if she was, like you said, some subordinate, like it's his home, he leads. There's a lot of men who that's what their view of marriage is.
And it's really sad.
Yeah.
We talk about this.
Yeah.
It's sad because it creates a culture for unfair expectations on a man to carry a burden that he shouldn't be carrying by himself. And it neglects the beautiful gift that his wife is to him in helping everything be birthed and come out of that home that's supposed to. I remember Miles Monroe saying, a lot of guys and the guys that were in the room, he said, you guys are frustrated and she's frustrated because you came to the table, and he's talking to the men. He said, you guys came to the table with nothing for her to work with. She comes fully equipped, ready, this machine ready to take something and multiply it. And what are you bringing to the table for her to work with?
Yeah.
And oftentimes that could be because either God doesn't have vision, direction, idea of what's to come, or he's hiding it.
Yeah.
He's not even communicating with her what we can do.
Yeah.
It's like, no, I'm supposed to make these financial decisions, or I'm supposed to seek God on where we're going. I don't need your input. When she's fully equipped to contribute to that conversation, to pour into it, man, heck, there's a whole lot of times that God speaks to her before she speaks to you for certain things in the house.
Here's the thing that it just made me think about a qualification of a person. What is the point of being married? If you do you think, when I think about it, and I think about like a lot of what I've seen, it's interesting that nobody, certain plations, it's not viewed as a partnership when it clearly is a partnership.
Yeah.
Like, yes, God created an order.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
We agree with that. But why do you want to have a child? Because a lot of times the men are talking, they can, whereas like she's the child, and you're supposed to do all this stuff. And if I say that we're supposed to go here and do that, then that's what we do. And she should never say anything against it. It's just a wild way to think. Isn't it nice to have another pair of eyes to be like, hey, well, have you looked at it this way? Have you thought about it this way? Have you considered this or that? That's how we complement each other. God could give you the big idea, and then I have, so if we're on an outline, you have point 1, and I have 1 A, B, C, D, and then you have point 2, and then I have point 2, A, B, C, D. And then, so all of those things go together so that we have the big picture of it all. But if it's unfair to yourself, like you said, to be like, I'm supposed to know everything. When if you walk through life long enough, you realize how much you don't know.
And I'm struggling
everything. I'm trying to figure it out. Together. So now you're walking around here frustrated. She's frustrated because she's like, well, where are we going? And you don't have nothing because you don't know.
Yeah.
And maybe it'd be better if we put our heads together and started to talk out what we were thinking, pray together, seek God together, and see what he's saying for our home together.
Healthy marriages are built by 2 whole individuals, not 2 halves coming together to complete each other. That's just not what it is. Since the beginning of time,
well, we can't complete each other. We're not the creator.
No, and God didn't give a broken Adam to a broken Eve.
No, nope. And so there are some things that are like very, very practical that we tell new couples that is important. If you want to be in a relationship with somebody, then you want to be open and not hiding.
Yeah.
If you feel like I got to hide my information, what I'm about my life to her, or I got to hide how I do stuff or what I did before to him, you might not want to be married yet. It is so important.
That's good.
When you get together and you're deciding that you want this person to be the one, or you feel like they're the one, that you are open completely about yourself and your life. It's so important. Because then you give them the opportunity to still choose you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And that, got to chew on that a little bit because, and I want to talk to the singles here for a second. And those that are like, man, Greg and Cachet, you don't understand this journey. You know, y'all been married 16 years. Y'all been together 17 years. I've been trying to find the right one for 16 years, 17 years, 20 years.
Yeah.
And it doesn't seem like the person's there. The pursuit can be very difficult. And especially while you're going through it, it can feel like this is harder than what it would be walking through relationship. And so I want to acknowledge that, man. I want to address that. Feeling like you're starting the process over and over again, because what you just pointed out with I believe this person's a great potential. So I want to be vulnerable. I want to share parts of me. And if that falls through, it can feel like, man, I got to start this all over again. Yeah. I have to be vulnerable all over again. I have to be transparent. And so I think it's important to be prayerful, to be intentional about who you're sharing parts of you with. Yeah. There also is, just like in relationship, in marriage itself, there's no safety net. Yeah. So when you're pursuing and trying to start that process of what we may in church call courting, you know, I'm like, man, I'm being intentional. I wanted to try and I want to get involved in a relationship with a goal to be married. And I saw this thing trending online. God, should it take 4 to 5 years to know that this woman? No, it shouldn't. Should not take 4 to 5 years for you to know this woman is your wife. I'm just going ahead and say that.
It's interesting because when you talk to most men who are married, they usually say that they did already know.
Oh, yeah. Oh, there's just
even
always
if
something.
They took time and procrastinated, they'd be like, I already knew from the beginning.
You know what it is with men?
What?
And women may struggle with this in many ways too, but for men, a man who's intentionally wanting to do it right wants everything to be perfect. Yeah. I need the right amount of money. Yeah. I need to be able to have the right things set up. I need to be established a certain amount of space in my career. And that's not true. There's nothing that will fully prepare you for what's going to happen in life. You can have a fully established multi-million-dollar business, get married, and something happened in the stock market and your business flops. or you have this major fallout with a client and they sue you and take everything you got. What you did to prepare going into that could not have prepared you for that.
Yep.
Nothing. So it's really about, I need the right character as a person. I need to have a sound relationship with God. I need to know who I am. My identity needs to be in place.
Yeah.
Because as I go through these things in relationship, I'm going to need to know who I am.
Yeah.
I'm going to need to know who God is. And I'm going to need to know what this person who I'm walking with is here for. You know what I mean? So those are the most important pieces with that.
And I'd say at least, because that might seem intimidating to say, like, know who you are. I think I would say to complement this, but make it maybe less scary for somebody who's like, know who you are. Because let me preface it with this. We are always evolving and learning more.
That's good.
The point is that you should be pursuing what your purpose is in life in that time. So you're intentional about learning who you are and what God wants to do in you in this period of time in your life.
Yeah.
Because you're going to be evolving continually. I don't know if we ever 100% know, because though we may know like this is the thing God wants me to do, he does have different ways and different seasons that he will have us do it. And that's okay, because we don't want you to think you have to go into it knowing perfectly. But the point is that you should be pursuing to know it.
So we have 5 children, and we have created a culture at home about how Comans live. So this is my analogy for this. My children don't know what they're going to be when they grow up. They have aspirations. They see things. Certain things are cool. That we have pictures of stuff we believe they could be in life. But ultimately, the principle of how they live as Comans, we lay that out. We live a life where we walk with integrity. We have a relationship with our Savior, Jesus Christ. We understand that God has a purpose and what he wants to do for his kingdom in the earth through us. So that's their identity. That's the framework for their identity.
That's it.
What they figure out along the way has to go through that framework, through that lens. So as you're facing certain circumstances, I have to put it through the lens of, I'm a kingdom person. I'm also a Coleman, so I represent this name. So how I behave and what I do has to go through that framework. So when I talk identity and when we talk about identity, when you're coming into a relationship, you don't have to know everything, but these core principles about who you are coming into a relationship are necessary. You need to know that as a kingdom man, as a man who wants to be married, I'm gonna talk to my fellas that, hey, what does God say about a man being in a relationship?
That's good.
So I need to understand, man, I'm called to lead my home. I'm called to be a person who walks with integrity, who walks upright, who, what people talk about my relationship, my family, eventually my children, that they can say, man, he's a man who's integral. That's the principles for who you are. There shouldn't be any question about that part of your identity. How you navigate careers, how you navigate loss, how you navigate challenges. That stuff will come
through the framework. That's good.
But those are the refining things. That's the fire. But
that's really good.
Ultimately, your frame has to be sound. And that's what we're doing here is we're like, man, let's test the framework of your life to say when you go into a relationship, when you're walking into this thing, when you're putting yourself out there and taking a risk to try to court this person. My foundation is strong. You know what I mean?
I just was randomly thinking of something else that's a good, there are other practical things that you can think about when you are considering being in a relationship with anybody. Things like, how do I handle conflict?
That's good.
Things like
you going into our
or these other days.
No, it's not other days, but this is stuff that we do in our course. Good.
But it's stuff like that helps you become a better person, because it can be used everywhere. It's going to be refined, because when you get married, you are going to be put in a position that you haven't been before with a person. And so you may think, now, if you already know you got an anger issue, you might want to deal with that before you bring somebody else in. I didn't know that I had an anger issue. And so I had to then learn to deal with that because I had never been in a relationship that tested that part of me.
That's it.
But I think if I can go back and tell myself prior to getting married, something that I would say you should do to prepare for marriage, it wouldn't be planning your wedding. Mm-hmm. It would be things more like conflict resolution, and being an honest person, and making sure that I am not looking for this person to make me happy, but a person who is able to give love. Mm-hmm. You think that you can do this stuff, and it's easy to go through those, vows, and you're like, yeah, sickness and then health. But, it's funny. A lot of people break up when there's some sort of sickness.
I'm thinking about a lot of you might be familiar with the 5 Love Languages, written by Gary Chapman.
That's a good one.
And
good book.
I'm thinking about using what you said. If we understood just the principles of that, the principles of it's more important to care and be intentional about how other people receive love. Yeah. This is before even getting in marriage. If I'm exercising just the principles of that in friendship with people, when I get married, my mindset is the way I demonstrate love to you is I'm still having in mind, how do you receive it? I'm studying you.
I'm learning you.
Yeah.
That's good.
That's good.
Because that your whole life, no matter how long you've been married, you should still be learning your spouse.
I'm still learning more about you every
day. I love
Absolutely.
Hearing new things about Greg. I do. I think we said it on the last live. I think we said it. I asked him something like, what's something that I don't know about you? And it was hard because we talk a lot. Yeah. I mean, we talk all day, all night. We text and we just have a relationship like that is built on the foundation of communication.
Yeah.
And learning how to talk about the hard stuff. That's one of those things that I would say. If you are too afraid to talk about the hard stuff, you're not ready for a relationship. Let me tell that to a single. If you are unsure about talking about the hard stuff, when you get with the person, you don't have to talk about the hard stuff with everybody you dating. But once this person is like, let's be together, we have to get accustomed to talking about the hard stuff. Not, oh, that was in the past, I don't want to talk about that. No, we need to talk about it.
You want to give some examples?
What our mentors, we had mentors when we were engaged. Mm-hmm. And they told us that nobody should be able to come to you and say anything about your spouse that they know that you don't know.
Yep.
And so things like, what was your childhood actually like? Mm-hmm. Were you, okay, for people who are, you hope everybody gets married as a virgin, but 2020, so-and-so, how many people have you been with? Mm-hmm. What was your, once we get into our marriage, what was experience like with them? Were you molested? Were you there? When I talk about the hard stuff, I mean everything. Mm-hmm. I mean everything, because a lot of times, you'll get in a marriage in relationship like that, and you don't want to share these hurt, broken places. Yeah. Right. But if I'm saying that I trust you with my life in sickness and in health till death do us part, why don't I trust you with that information?
And we can attest to the results of both sides of that coin.
Yes, we can.
We
talked about everything but one thing.
We are very open about everything in our relationship.
Yep.
And then I omitted one key detail.
He did.
That I felt like I dealt with in private, but didn't discuss it with her. And the result of that is that a year into our relationship, and you can go back and listen to that story.
Healing through forgiveness.
Healing through forgiveness. Yeah. Find that pod on the RTB podcast.
It was really good.
But we had to deal with it.
Yeah.
Now that is something that could have been dealt with if we talked about it early in a relationship, and I gave her an opportunity to be able to process that and make a choice.
Yeah.
But
that was one of the biggest things I said.
Yeah.
When everything came out.
Oh yeah.
I said you didn't give me a chance to choose.
Opportunity to choose. Yeah.
I could have still chose you.
Yeah.
But you took that from me. And it was interesting because I had one. So we were talking about who we had, like people we were with and stuff. It was one conversation, and there was somebody that I was like, I wasn't sure I wanted to share that. And so we were on the bus. I'll never forget it. And he asked me, was I with this person? And I said no. And I felt so guilty. And before we got around the corner, I was like, yes, I was with him. And, you know, we live a life that is honest and transparent. That's how we are everywhere we go. And so nobody's going to be able to come to Greg and say, I heard this about your wife.
You disarm the enemy.
Yes.
That was the objective. That was the
point.
That was the point of that tool, that strategy that our elder gave us. Yes. Man, disarm the enemy. From being able to use this 5 years, 10 years, 20 years down the line. Your marriage. Just take it away. Take it away. You know.
And so then, you know, this is how we learn to love each other, flaws and all. Because there's nobody that's going to be perfect. You know, and there are parts of things in our lives that prior to these relationships that hurt us, but we need to be able to talk about it.
That's good.
We need to be able to, if I am saying, this is not just, you know, if I'm saying, I trust you with my life, because that's what we're saying when we agree to get married.
That's good.
We're saying, I trust you with my life. Then why wouldn't I trust you with this information? If somebody else knows more about me than you, then what is this? Why do I feel like I can trust you with my life?
Well, I think it's the exact same way we do God. Why don't we fully give God space to every area of our lives? Because in our head, either we find this particular area insignificant to him. Like, you don't need to know this. That's, you know, I don't got to talk to him about this. I know God knows all things, but this is, I can manage this. Or we're afraid of what will happen with that information. So we try to plan and prepare or protect from the outcome of that by not discussing it or not allowing that person to to come into that space. You know, so if you have a picture of God that he's a bully, then you're afraid to take certain things to him that you want help with, thinking that he ain't gonna care about this. He might give me more work. Well, as if God's not a loving father. You know.
And in terms of being in a relationship with someone, like you said, you may think that they'll walk away.
Oh man.
And that may be scary. If I tell you these things about myself, maybe you'll walk away. And it is a risk that you're taking. But if I am going to marry you, I think that we take the weight of what marriage actually is off of it, and we dummy it down to like a small little boyfriend and girlfriend romance thing that you know, but we don't really understand what marriage actually is.
We definitely don't understand the vows we state.
No, because we say it, but then as soon as something hard comes, then we ready to leave or whatever. But if we understood that, we are literally saying, I trust you with my life. And he's saying, I trust you with my life. I trust a woman. I trust you to be the head of my home. You know, I trust you to be a helper and a pusher of this, whatever we're doing in our home. We're saying that, but a lot of times we're so caught up in the fluffy part that we don't think about or take into account what that actually means. You know what I mean? There was a lady who I was a part of a women's conference in December. It was amazing. And there was a woman in her testimony there. Her husband was from Ghana, and they had a full understanding that they would likely go back to Ghana. And they got married, and I think they lived here for a while. And then at some point they went back to Ghana. She had like 2 kids there. They lived there, and then they ended up eventually moving back. But when we were talking, she was talking about, like, we were like, man, that was such a big sacrifice for her. Her whole family is here. And she moved and relocated because she said he's worth it. And she trusted and believed in their relationship and him and all of that. And they went there, and I think that they like started a church, or they were part of a church or something like that. And now they have this beautiful ministry that's connected to Ghana and helping, but I don't think that we always take that type of stuff into thought and the consideration of what that actually means.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's a lot of sacrifice when you get married. There's a lot of selflessness when you get married. There's a lot of give and take. We are in life. We're trying to figure all these things out. And it's best done when we understand that it's a togetherness to do it.
Yeah. And this stuff can sound hard.
Yeah.
But again, we're always going to have a lot of references to our relationship with God, because the marriage is the institution that reflects it. It's hard, but when you do it, the outcome is so beautiful.
Yeah.
Like, it's hard to learn how to develop a discipline to care more about what your wife is saying or what your husband is saying when you're actively in conversation. It's hard to be like, man, I need to be quiet and listen to what she's saying right now, rather than me get my word across. It's difficult. However, the beauty that comes from that being a regular part of your relationship, it's like, yo, it's worth it 10 times over.
Yeah.
Being in relationship with somebody that I can talk to openly, freely, can get encouragement from. She can critique me when I'm not doing well in certain spaces that she can see I can do better. And I can get the encouragement that I need. Yeah.
What versus I was looking for anyways.
Yeah. Versus us not being able to have a conversation. Yeah. So the sacrifice pales in comparison to the result.
The thing is, you get what you actually want.
That's it. Yeah.
Like, I can feel. So number one, if you start doing it in the beginning of your relationship, when everything is great and perfect and wonderful and beautiful and fluffy, you learn to build on it.
It levels up.
It levels up. And it's like, oh, we talked about that. We can talk about this. Oh, we talked about this. We can talk about that. Oh, we talked about that. We can talk about this. And you get to a place where you can literally feel when things are needed there. I can feel, Greg don't have to be sad walking around openly. You don't have to. I can feel a lot of times when my husband needs something from me. There's times, the other day I was in the kitchen and I had been thinking about hugging him all day. I just kept thinking, like, I should stop and hug him. I don't know why. And then he like turned to me and hugged me. And I was like, you felt that. It was like we knew we needed to hug right then. I don't know what the actual thing was. It was nothing like wrong going on, but there was like, we could feel that we needed to like embrace right there. You know what I mean? And that comes from a relationship. And it comes from a relationship that's open, and honest and talking and connected. That's the biggest part. It comes from a relationship that's connected. Good. You're not going to connect if you don't talk. You know what I mean? You'll only talk about superficial things if you're ignoring her all the time, or if you're ignoring him or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, if we don't talk about the hard stuff and we only talk about superficial stuff, we'll never get to the deeper parts that we actually want. That's the whole point. When we want to get married, we desire marriage and stuff. We want that deep connection.
That's good. Oh, you dropping bombs.
And if you don't want the deep connection, then keep talking superficial. Never get deep. And you will miss out on the beauty of what a companion in marriage really is. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's my 22 cents. That's what my girls say all the time.
That's part one.
Yes.
That's part one, man. That's part one.
That's good.
Before you chase the ring.
Yes.
So if this was part one, you can imagine what the next 4 parts are going to be. It's only going to get better.
Yes.
You know, so we appreciate you guys locking in with us for 53 minutes and counting. Yes. Can you do us a favor? Can you share this with somebody? I know you got some friends in your circle that may be walking this walk the same way you are, whether you're single or married. If you're single and you got your homeboys that you guys are having powwows, man, and y'all talking about what it looks like to get married, or all the ladies are gathering, having conversations about finding that man. Can you share this? Just shoot it their way. You know what I mean?
Not just wedding dresses, y'all. There's a time for wedding dresses.
Come on.
There's a time for it. And you can do that when it's the time. But before that, what do we need to get there? Mm-hmm. And not just cooking meals. That's a life skill. Yeah. Let me just throw that out there real quick. Making a food is not preparing for marriage.
Adam cooked in the garden before he got there.
It's a life skill. Or you will starve to death.
He went shopping first.
Or you'll be overweight because all you do is eat McDonald's all day.
He put his own groceries.
And so, no shade, but making a food is not preparing for marriage. That is a life skill so you can live, because we got to eat when we live. Okay, that's all now. Okay, that's my 22 cents.
Share this with somebody, man. Let somebody else join the movement.
Yes, let's have healthy relationships.
The pivotal moment is a movement to build relationships, man.
Yeah.
So share it, spread the word. As you see on that ticker below, there's a way for you to connect with us. Mm-hmm. Let it get plugged in. We'd love to continue to have this dialogue and conversation. You can take it a step further if you really want to do relationship. Mm-hmm. You and your partner are interested in launching it, or you're married already and you're like, man, we're trying to rekindle the fire. Reach out to us. We actually offer some beautiful resources for that. We have our anchor sessions, and we have the blueprint course where we can walk you through. You can meet with Greg and Cachet, and we can walk you through this process of either rekindling the fire or pouring the gasoline on it so it's ready to be lit in the beginning. All right. So it's a beautiful time.
It is.
Any last words for our people?
It isn't going to work if you don't do it.
Telling you.
Application is what brings. You don't get the job if you don't apply for the job. That's all.
We just built resumes.
Then when you apply for the job, you got to actually work the job. Do it well.
I'm cutting you off.
Okay.
So about to get started again.
All right,
hey, man, we love y'all, man. So take care.
God bless.
God bless.
Hey, before you go, make sure you subscribe and like this video.